The Mecca is such a special place. And you go in there and there's just monsters, just massive people. Have all these great athletes there. And they seem super intimidating, but they want to give back.
All right, today we're here with Kenny Carter, Director of Product Innovation for Gold's Gym.
Let's go.
Let's go. We're here to take a look at the pre-workout. 2 new flavors. Actually, green apple is new.
Green apple's new.
Yeah.
First
This
to market, first taste here.
Wow. Awesome. Lemonade was already here. All right, perfect. Awesome. So we're going to start off with some rapid fire questions. Dylan, you want to read off these questions to Kenny?
Oh, man, I'm kind of blind here.
Oh, right at the bottom.
The one day I don't have my glasses.
Hardballs right out of the gate.
I could do it. All right, so machines or free weights?
Gold's Gym, it's all about free weights. You got to be lifting heavy weights, no questions. We love machines. Free weights is the way to go.
Now, this is always controversial. Stretching before or afterwards?
So because I'm old now, my technique is mobility before the workout and then stretching post-workout. So getting the joints lubed up, getting into the action, free weights, some stretching afterward.
Do you prefer arm day or leg day?
There's only one right answer, and that's leg day.
Okay.
So
Absolutely.
Intermittent fasting or counting calories?
So I'm not a big proponent of either, but if I'd have a choice, I would say counting calories to kind of get a baseline of where you are nutritionally. Once you have that information from there, just go with the flow.
Dumbest fitness advice right now?
Dumbest fitness advice. So the one thing I've been seeing on Instagram is this trampoline fitness. So people jumping around and lifting on trampolines.
Lifting? I haven't seen lifting on it.
Lifting on trampolines, doing cardio on trampolines.
They actually have free weights in their hand?
It's like 2 pounds.
Oh, okay.
So lightweight. And maybe it's one of those things, don't knock it till you try it. So you might see some content of me on the trampoline soon, but until I try it.
Those videos where people are like in harnesses and they're like swinging around the room too. Have you seen that stuff?
I haven't seen it, but I'm checking it out right after this.
It's ridiculous. Yeah.
What about the most important fitness trend right now?
So a fitness trend that I'm really high on right now is reformer Pilates.
Reformer Pilates?
Reformer Pilates.
I never heard
Did you just say Pilates?
I said Pilates.
What's the difference between regular Pilates and reformer Pilates?
So reformer Pilates, the whole thing, whenever it comes to injury prevention, so if you're going to the gym, you're doing ab work, you're lifting, you're definitely getting the bulk from the weight. But reformer Pilates is all about structure. So working your transverse abdominis, working your core to the point that it makes all your other lifts that much better is something that if you haven't tried it, I highly recommend it.
Is
it's
it
hardcore.
still on the same machines? Like
Same
the Pilates
machines.
machine?
Yeah.
Oh.
So full reformer machine. And I mean, you just see the people in the class. Everyone's lean, everyone's fit. And within 5 or 10 minutes, you're sweating buckets because your core is just on fire. So yeah, check it out, man.
It's all body weight exercises, right? Or is there actual?
No, you get like free weights and they'll do stuff where you like hold the weights out in front of you and do like leg lifts for like 5 minutes. Like I thought I was in shape until my ex took me to Pilates, and I never felt like I was more out of shape.
Exactly.
Like it's crazy.
All right,
out to
don't
the
knock it
ex.
till you try it.
Try
right?
it. Yeah, I want to hear it.
Wow.
What is the most underrated exercise right now?
Underrated exercise. So, RDLs are massive. Anything on the lower body. The one thing I'm a big proponent on, especially as you age, is front squats. If you're looking to, build your leg mass, but especially if age, if you have any type of lower back issues, putting the weight in front and then having some plates behind you to really get into your lower body is something where you don't have to use a lot of weight, but it feels like you have it. And it really gets involved.
That's advice for both men and women?
Men and women, yeah.
Okay.
Looking at if you're looking to go a bit heavier, the front-loaded barbell, or if you're just doing more functional work, having the kettlebell out in front with some plates under your heels to drop into the quad is something that I think is a huge advantage to a lifter.
The front squat versus the back squat, does one work the glutes more? Or
So the front squat is pretty all-encompassing. So whenever you're doing your back squat, you're definitely going to get into the big muscles, into the glutes, especially as you get low. But with the front squat, because your back is a bit more parallel, you don't have the pressure, but you still get that full weighted, resistance through the quad too. So
I was just doing them like 3 days ago, and it's a lot of extra core work too.
Yeah.
And how do you prefer to have the bar resting on, I guess, like your chest, so to speak? Because I know there's people who do like the cross arm like this, or some people kind of hold it like that. Like, what do you think would be the best form?
I personally do the cross arm. So just having your shoulders, elevated slightly out in front for that support, and then making sure everything is braced. And again, you're not lifting, super heavy. So the weight might be 40, 50% of what you would do for a back squat. But the resistance, like you said, with your core, you can't help but engage it. So it's
tears
great.
your legs up too. Like I was sore for like 3 days afterwards, but it's great. I used to do that a lot when I played rugby.
Yeah, for sure.
So there's somewhat irrelevant, but relevant. But because you said about the load, and I was just thinking, it reminded me of dog food for some reason. My dog's food, it weighs like 35 pounds, right? And obviously, it's not the heaviest, but you're like, oh, shoot. Yeah, dog food, right?
Totally.
But then when we're at the gym, we underestimate the weight. So, it's only 100 pounds. But let's say you had a 100-pound bar and you're doing that for reps. You're building up your body so much so when that dog food, it's nothing, right? But how many times you...
Well, the kibble's all over the place. You don't have a good grip.
But so is a long bar.
Yeah, the difference between like 100 pounds of dog food versus a 100-pound dumbbell, like I can carry one in each arm, no problem. But like a big old thing of dog food, it's just the weight dispersion.
Yeah.
Like when you're holding like a heavy weight out in front of you, like it's super hard, but then like over here, it's not.
Yeah, I think with both, so Pilates and then front squats, the parallels, if there is one, is there's a real learning curve. So I think with the front squat, everyone knows how to do a back squat. We can get into that pretty efficiently. The front squat, the first few times you do it, there's an awkwardness to it.
There is a lot.
Big awkwardness. But it's one of those things where, take a few weeks to really, get acclimated to the motion. And then with Pilates as well, getting into these, small motions for inner thighs, outer glutes, to build some of the stabilizers. And a month after, you're like, damn, I could really feel the foundation has grown from it.
Voice in the back of your head, am I doing this right? You're like looking around the class, you're like, what's going on?
The crappy thing about Pilates, at least for if you have class pass, they're always the most expensive credits.
Exactly.
So I'm like, do I really want to burn like 16 credits on this one class?
You'll do it once and you'll see why, man. Like Pilates is insane.
All right, okay, we can't knock it. Till we try.
I've never tried Pilates.
I never.
I'll
tried
go
that.
with you if you want, bro.
I do yoga, but the reformer, they're just doing like the same movement. You're like, what are they doing? But I guess
The burn, man. It's
Like
the
you said,
burn.
foundation, yeah.
It's foundation because I'm the same way. So I was doing a lot of yoga, especially during the pandemic. So we couldn't leave, So what I would do is crank up the heat in my apartment.
Yeah, hot yoga.
Hot yoga, and really feeling the good stretch. But I feel like Pilates is kind of the graduation. If you're doing
Wow,
yoga,
okay.
this is like.
Is there hot Pilates?
I wouldn't do it, because it's just so intense.
They still
already.
kind of keep it like the class warm, I think, like 85, 90 degrees or something like that.
Okay, so it's a natural evolution if you've mastered yoga, so to speak, or not mastered, because no one ever masters anything. But if you've gotten good at yoga, you move on to Pilates.
I think so, and again, it's one of those things where it literally makes everything you do better. If you're lifting, if you're playing a sport, everything becomes more stable. And you guys have to do this now. So maybe we can get a video footage of three of you guys
I'll
sweating
go with
up.
you if you want to try it out. Yeah.
You too, Como.
I thought you
She's in.
just get more in tune with your body because you're using these muscles that you never.
How do
really
you decide where to work out? Because you have full access to the Mecca, right? You could work out there whenever you want. How do you choose? Because it's such it's weird. Because the only thing I could ever compare to the Gold's Gym to is I don't know if you worked out at a UFC gym. Mm-hmm. In a UFC gym, especially the one in Torrance, they always had like actual fighters there. So whenever you went as a regular person, it felt like there's a humility to it. Because like, I'm just Joe. Because you got like real killers there, and that's what it feels like when you work out at Gold's Gym. You're like, oh man, I'm just can't. Well, you got real bodybuilders.
The Muscle Beach one versus because there's other golds. Well, they're EOS now, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the other golds that I used to work out at, I'm like okay. But when you go
to the Mecca,
when you start, the more west you go from suburbia, it gets more and more intense.
Totally. The Mecca is such a special place. So I moved to California 15 years ago to be a trainer at the Mecca. And at the time, it wasn't YouTube. You were watching videos on bodybuilding.com. And all of the best, trainers, all of the best bodybuilders were training at Gold's. And that's been the same case for the last 60 years. And it was interesting because I was a trainer for 10 years before I ever stepped foot in the Mecca. And I remember my first visit there was this level of intimidation.
Yeah.
I'm like, I think I'm a, pretty big guy for what it was worth when I was in my early 20s. And you go in there and there's just monsters, just massive people. But the coolest thing is that on visit 2 and 3, you already start to feel a part of the community. Yeah. So I think similar to UFC is you have all these great athletes there. and they seem super intimidating, but they want to give back. They want people in their community, and they want to really, make everyone around them better. And I think, to me, that's the Gold's Gym ethos, and especially in Venice Beach. It's hard. It's a very difficult experience to top.
Yeah, and it's weird because you would think that you feel the intimidation, but it's really internal. Because once you're there, it's almost like this humility, knowing all the levels. Because the pros, the champions work out here, and you're just like, I'm just me. I'm just trying to get a good workout.
So it's not like hey, don't come in here kind of. It's very welcoming and inclusive.
Yeah, it's more like, hey, if you're gonna go down this path, this is where you should do it.
I think it's what Ken's saying, where it's all internal, and like a lot of people, I'm gonna relate this to like metal concerts or whatever. You see the people like doing the mosh pits and they look all scary, but like when you're actually in there, I've heard people say they're the most friendly people you ever meet. So.
Well, they're lifting 600 on an off day, right?
Yeah, and it's cool. I mean, you go in there and you'll still see Arnold.
Yeah.
And I think through every era, whenever I was, a trainer at the Mecca 15 years ago, it was seeing guys like, Dexter Jackson. It was seeing Charles Glass. It was seeing Dennis Wolf. And these guys are coming in every single day and just lifting heavy weights. Lou Ferrigno, if you've seen Pumping Iron, Lou Ferrigno was there. Arnold was training in the mornings, and then Lou Ferrigno's son was working the front desk. It's a family affair through and through, and it just spans all these generations. Where you got to taste it. You got to feel.
And even if you weren't working out with them, if you're there, obviously you people watch when you're at the gym. You're like, okay, I never done that. I'm gonna do that next time. Totally. And then they leave, and then you go, I'm gonna try this set that he did.
Well, it's probably just, if anything, motivation and inspiration.
Totally.
Right? It's like, okay, now I know why I'm like suffering in this room, right? To not get to where they're at, because they're the pinnacle, but like, okay, it gives you the why again. Like, okay, this is why, I always think it's good to surround yourself with people way better than you, because then you go, okay, I got a lot more to go than just where I'm at right now,
It did seem a little gate-kept, as in during the pandemic, it felt like everyone found out how good Gold's Gym was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Definitely. And, during the pandemic, so the one thing in the Mecca is that they opened up the doors and moved a lot of the equipment outside. And it's so cool because Gold's, Venice is a massive facility. It's 3 giant rooms. And when all the equipment was inside, it's a very condensed experience. So you can go upstairs and do cardio. You're looking down, and again, there's Arnold lifting weights. So there's a certain motivation there. But then whenever they moved it outside, now you have the elements of California. You have this kind of beach vibe, which is only 2 or 3 blocks away. So it's a really cool experience. And, looking at the spans of the membership, I've seen, people like 50 Cent working out there. And then on the opposite end of the spectrum, Will Ferrell, So it doesn't matter what fitness level you're on, you can go to the Mecca and definitely feel a part of it. Yeah. So it's cool.
That's insane, man. I don't know. It blows my mind. You could be at a gym and then you have these people around you.
Yeah. The greats.
I can't that doesn't come to my brain.
Imagine you're over there and just asking
that's
Dennis Wolf. I'm like,
that's when I joined it, because during the pandemic, I lived maybe like 8 minutes from there, and I was like, oh man, all the other gyms are closed. I thought, I'm gonna go check it out, and it was so cool because it was one of the only things that was open.
Totally, yeah. It was so big and such a good way that they handled it to make it accessible.
Yeah.
Bring the equipment literally in the parking lot, and people just wanted to be in community at that point.
Yeah.
And, Gold's, I go there and it's so wild because you have people who work out there on a consistent basis since I've been there 15 years ago. And these are people who are my age, younger, and in their 80s, and they're just doing their thing and so a part of it. So you guys have to come to the Mecca, consider this the invite to do Pilates and get a pump.
Do you only do like lifting there, and then on your other gyms, the Mecca's for my lifting, over here's for cardio, let's say?
Yeah, exactly. So it's interesting. So my office, so the Gold's Gym parent company owns Gold's Gym, but it also owns a chain here called John Reed Fitness.
Okay.
Which is more of a music-inspired concept from
I've
Europe.
seen the reels online where it's like
downtown.
DJing. I want to go so bad. I love music.
It's so cool,
Because there's a John Reed in downtown LA, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I've seen that one.
Spin classes with the DJ and all the light. Like,
Oh, that is totally up your alley.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whoa, you guys own that too?
So the parent company, RSG Group, owns John Reed, and my office happens to be in the John Reed in Santa Monica. So, so typically, you know, I'll get my workouts in there, and then maybe once every other week, I'm at the Mecca. And it's amazing because John Reed is a very, you know, motivational experience with the music and the vibes. But there's just something, again, about going to Gold's Gym where it's almost like a performance enhancer just by stepping in the
Yeah, totally. Totally. I could see how
Something
John
in the
Reed
air.
is your modern everyday workout. And then when you're like, oh, I need the little meathead injection, you're like, I need to go in.
I want to call it meathead. I want to just call it extra vascularity pump.
That's right.
The second you walk through the door, your veins are just
Boom.
so super sane.
It is a natural pre, right? It really is. When you're surrounded by that much greatness.
It is.
Totally, especially the way the gym is set up. The front is totally new, so you get the new gym experience, but then you walk into the classic feel of the Mecca.
Absolutely. And it's interesting because Gold's, there's a lot of expansion internationally. So in regions like Brazil and in Europe. And all the machinery and equipment is next level. It's all German built and just really premium. But the Mecca is a standalone because everything is old. It's a little bit gritty. But there's just something about that rust on the dumbbells where you're like, this just feels right, you know?
Pumping iron.
So it's pumping iron. You know, it's the best of the best.
Are golds in other countries the same golds, or do they all belong to the parent company?
So most Gold's Gym locations are franchise owned.
Okay.
So I think we have about 600 or 700 locations worldwide.
Okay.
And we have gyms like the Mecca, which is owned by the company, but in certain regions like the Carolinas or in Germany, as an example, these are franchise locations. So
Because Gold's Gym is popular in Japan, right?
Yeah.
Is that part of the RSG group too?
So interesting about the gyms in Japan. So I was in Japan last summer, and I was at a izakaya, you know, just having a nice little dinner, having some sushi. And after like 4 hours of eating, chatting with the chef, you know, having some sake, having a great time, there was a couple sitting next to us, and they didn't speak English, only Japanese. And the chef was like, I want to introduce you to this guy. He's a world champion masseuse. I was like, I didn't even know this thing exists, but
World champion. There's like competition.
tell me everything.
How do I sign up? Like,
So I told the guy, I was like, you know, he's asking me what I do. I was like, I work for Gold's Gym. And the second that he heard that, he was like, Gold's Gym is an institution, you know, and he's translating through the chef. And he was like, I want to invite you, because you're a part of Gold's Gym, to our clinic tomorrow, and I want to give you a massage. So I go there. You know, he sets up the entire massage, and at the end of it, and the massage was incredible. I mean, shout out to this guy.
world champion. Right?
World champion.
Man, but that kind of sucks, so because the bar's so high.
The bar is so high.
Damn.
But that's what he said. He was like, because you're a part of Gold's Gym, the services, your money is not good here. You know, we love Gold's Gym so much. We're so happy to have you. Everything is free of charge. So it's such a vibe in Japan. If you go to Gold's, it's next level.
That's a huge respect thing, and their culture is crazy with the respect. I love
That's
that.
awesome.
Crazy. Okay. Well, next time we're gonna pretend like we work at Gold's. We're gonna get a champion massage.
This is Kenny.
got me
Kenny.
followed.
Kenny.
Actually, twin brothers.
There we go.
Yeah, the Japanese, it's awesome. I recently saw this thing was that obviously the world is a little bit conflicted right now, but it says that the country we're most aligned with right now is Japan. Like they love American culture, we love Japanese culture. That's so funny. Now we tried these two flavors before, but this is a brand new flavor, green apple. Kenny, where can we get this flavor?
Yeah, you can find the Gold's Gym pre-workout at Select Gold's Gym, and also launch it on TikTok Shop and Amazon coming soon.
So when you were at the Mecca, how'd you transition from personal training to what you're doing now?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I was a trainer for about a decade in Houston. So I went to University of Houston, backgrounds in kinesiology, sports science, and then sports nutrition. So I knew in my early 20s I wanted to be a trainer. I wanted to work with pro athletes. Whenever I came to the Mecca, I got a chance to work with pro hockey players, which was just incredible exposure that early in my career. But I always love supplementation and sports nutrition. And I think with nutrition, it's a science. So it's very black and white. But through social media and things like that, it gets a little bit convoluted in terms of messaging. So I started looking for opportunities to work for nutrition companies in the area, mostly in sales and marketing capacity. And I really think my start in product development started whenever I was in high school. So we were having Metrex protein powders and all these disgusting products at the time, effective, but none of them taste good. And me and my buddies, we would go in the kitchen when we were 13 or 14. We'd take the protein powders and we'd try to, bake protein bars and make all these different concoctions. So there was always an interest in how do we make, sports nutrition better. Now, many, many years later, I don't even cook, but, I was baking recipes when I was 14 to advance the science. And when given the opportunity in my early 30s with a company called SFH, Stronger, Faster, Healthier, to come in and look at their product portfolio with my background. And with that company, the challenge was they had natural products. So 10, 15 years ago, if you had grass-fed whey and pre-workouts with natural sweeteners, the product also was not going to taste great. Our flavor, science wasn't there. So my intro with them was, as a salesperson, I would go to accounts and just put additional citrulline in the pre-workout, and it would buffer some of the bitterness from the amino acids. And I would tell my accounts, what I was doing and why it would be a better product if they did the same. And the company ultimately made the change in the formula to add more citrulline, and the product started to take a spike in sales because it just tastes better. So at the time I was living in Seattle, the company moved me back to California to start to look at their entire portfolio and the product roadmap. And that was the first time I was working in flavor labs to improve product flavors, concepting new products, working with contract manufacturers. And now that's been a decade or plus on this side of the industry, trying to improve products.
Okay. Man, I want to unpack that because you said so much that made me. I started thinking of all these little points. Where first we're gonna go back to the RX. So, because you said it tasted nasty, it's not that I forgot.
Care about flavor
it's not.
it
was hard. It was hard to flavor. I forgot what I tried the other day. That I was like, oh my god, it tastes good, but the smell reminded me of like the first Eno Explode. That was like it worked, but it was like hard to take it in. It was like that nasty watermelon, and then you're like, oh god. Yeah. So first off, everything it didn't suck, but no one was trying to make it good. Mm-hmm. You didn't have the huge companies seeing what a big industry it was, right? So and then also you in your career, not just in work, but when your career with health and nutrition, you've tasted products and have products that have come in and out of fad, and maybe those companies still exist. But now, how do you look at that working with Gold's Gym, being behind the label and saying, okay, I want this product to not just taste good, to not just sell, but 10 years from now, I don't want someone to just say, I remember taking Gold's Gym. I go, I still take Gold's Gym, right? When you're in that chair, in that position, how do you formulate?
I think my position has always been to reflect back to the science. So with nutrition, there's clinical data to, present with every ingredient how effective it could be when taken in the right dose range. And I believed this whenever I was 17 years old. I believe it now. If you read through the clinicals and understand how the science makes a product effective, that's the only way to formulate effectively. And going back to Stronger, Faster, Healthier, that company had the highest concentration of liquid fish oil 15 years ago on the U.S. market. And they formulated this product because you had Vasipa and Lavasa, pharmaceutical-grade fish oils, that were clinically proven to reduce cardiac death by 25% if you were taking a statin. These are not N equals 30 trials. These are drug-based trials. Yeah. So if we look, and the real X factor with that was you can't just take one fish oil capsule. You would have to take 4 grams of EPA to get that result.
Daily?
Daily, yeah.
Wow, okay.
Daily. So a lot, but this is what we know. If you have high triglycerides, high cholesterol, that's beneficial. Mm-hmm. With Golds and intermittently working with pro athletes, the same applies. If we want to get a pump, we know that the clinical standard is 6 to 8 grams. And because it's Gold's Gym and the pump is important, we drive it home with 8 grams, If we look at clinical science in that antioxidants protect nitric oxide in your body, then we certainly want to layer the product with antioxidants to help prolong that pump and do it in a way where there's a little bit of antioxidant but not enough to blunt inflammation where your body can't respond to your training protocol. So Every ingredient, with Gold's Gym is built in what I call a tier. It's a podium of gold, silver, and bronze. 8 grams of citrulline, that's a clinical dose. To me, that's a gold level, standard. If you put 6 grams, it's good, but it's silver. And then, of course, some products underdose it and, put 4 or 2, and that's where it'd be bronze or off the podium. So if it's citrulline, beta-alanine, AstraGin, whatever ingredient, we want it at that full clinical value in our product.
So this is exactly why I love the supplement space, because you're not just competing on the look of it. You're like, all right, the actual product. And most people aren't going to know if that's a competition with gold, silver, bronze, unless they really know the data. They might just be looking at, I don't like the way this feels. But you got to compete in so many different levels.
I really like that because we had to also balance the business side. You can't have everything gold, right? Because then you're gonna have a product that costs $25 to make, and you can't sell it for gangbusters. So
that's
but
what I
you
was
do need a
thinking.
couple ingredients that have to be
That's what I was thinking. From our point of view, obviously we're an ingredient supplier, and we look at it as the price of our ingredient in your formula. And let's call it a spade. We're like, hey, it's not that much. Not that much is money. But you're like, dude, is this plus this plus this? It's kind of like when you're remodeling, go, dude, it's $3 a square foot, whatever. You're like,
1,000 square feet,
but I also have to do this. I also have to do this.
Yeah.
And I have how many feet? How many units am I actually making? And then you're like, and I got to give some away,
Totally. But my philosophy with product development and building a roadmap for a brand is whenever you get to that point where you feel like you're overloading a product or you want to just build up your label where you can't get things at full value, that's the perfect time to pivot the ingredients to another product, to a line extension. An example for us with the pre-workout,
So you create the stack, basically, right?
Exactly. You're building stacks where, we can't sell products that are $150 a pop.
Yeah.
They have to be reasonable for the consumer. But the example with the pre-workout was creatine. We know that people are going to respond to creatine. People enjoy creatine. But it would also impact the flavor, and it would start to really inflate the price. So that was a perfect...
all that.
The texture. So it's a perfect time for us to pivot and then create, in our case, a creatine gummy where we can use the full 5 grams. And, if you want to stack 2 products together, now you have the opportunity and flexibility to do it.
We've seen that in the marketplace. And it's a very admirable goal to put your creatine and your pre-workout together, but then you have all that extra added costs. You have sensory issues. You have a really big dose size now, so it does kind of makes sense to separate. And then now you're going to sell 2 products at one, right?
Exactly
There's
right.
a ton of those stick packed formulations with creatines and a bunch of different things now. It's creatine and then your aminos, or creatine and this, creatine and that. So the little 2 flavor or the 2 ingredient
I got a
packets.
question. What do you think about creatine and beverages, RTDs?
So creatine in beverages, at this point, transparently, I'm a little bit skeptical still. So, creatine, whenever it comes to any type of water-based solution, you can have this dissolution of creatine breaking into creatinine. And I think the potential is incredible. So, it's something where if the science ultimately lines up and long-term testing is done to show that the creatine is stable, then I'm totally on board. But I haven't seen it yet in a way that I'm fully on board with.
You're hearing about the technology, but is it really going to be still stable a year later in a liquid environment? So.
Yeah, and I think, so my point of reference was, again, with the creatine gummies. So whenever we launched our gummies over a year ago, the space was still a bit new. And there was this consideration, especially with the Now report, that creatine wasn't stable in gummy format, especially long term, because you have to use water within the process to make it. And what I had to do was essentially source pH-stable pectins that were specific to creatine to make sure we had built a product that maintained that stability. So things are possible, and I think the way that we were talking about, metrics and flavor has evolved so much over 15 years. And with creatine production, I think this is just the entry point with the beverages, that it's cool that it's even feasible. But I want to see a little bit more of a track record to say, if I'm consuming a label claim of 3 grams of creatine and I purchase the beverage 18 months after it's been produced, am I consuming 1.2 grams of creatine or the full 3? And creatine is a little bit iffy as well because we don't want to consume high amounts of creatinine if we can help it. So
the evidence in the chew and the gummy, was there enough for you to say, okay, we could move forward with a chew and gummy for creatine, but not yet an RTD?
Exactly. So with the gummies, and that was the issue, because you had brands early on like Create, which was making a great product, but a lot of people were just going to confection companies and saying, "You make candy, can you make me a creatine gummy?" And they were just pairing sugar and pectin with creatine. So the process itself wasn't specific to maintain shelf life or stability. But until we found a way and the right pectin to make it work, that was the deciding factor to say, okay, we're in on this. We want to consume, or we want to give the customer the exact value of what they're purchasing from the label.
Does the pectin absorb most of the moisture in the gummy? Is that why the creatine stays stable longer? Or is it just the pH values? Like, what's going on here? What's the secret sauce?
Yeah.
If you could share that.
Yeah, so
Proprietary information.
I'll share a little bit of it. So, so there's special pectins, again, that help to balance out products that are sensitive to moisture, in which case we found this. Another key with the creatine production in a gummy format is when you include the creatine to the slurry. So you're basically...
You mean when in time?
When in time.
Okay.
So you're essentially, putting the creatine in at the very last minute. I mean, the creatine is going into the giant blender maybe 2 minutes before it's being, blended up and then sent through the actual
So
mold.
imagine if you put it in too early, it risks breaking down, right?
Well, it's gonna just
Exactly.
Yeah.
Wow.
Exactly. So
Man, how many iterations did you have to try to be like, at the end,
Just
guys?
somehow pair creatine with powdered sugar, and the creatine could just be like the speckled dusting on top of the gummies or something.
yeah, for sure. I don't
Something
mind
like that.
Taste is king.
I've had some THC gummies like that. I was like, oh man, this was smart, because the gummy tasted perfectly, and the sugars were carrying the THC.
Yeah. So, sugar is a great carrier. And I think that's the cool thing with gummies. So I was always a little bit skeptical of creating a gummy because it's mostly sugar. Do I need 10 grams of sugar if I'm consuming a vitamin C gummy? Probably not. But with creatine, there's the benefit of having a carbohydrate to drive it to the muscle, to spike insulin slightly to get that full value that made total sense to do. So.
Oh wow!
You know how they have the cinnamon dust sugar that you can put on your dishes? Imagine the creatine version.
Oh, your dishes.
Salt bae.
Fascinating. So when you're taking creatine, you actually want a little simple carbs.
Mm-hmm. So from a sports nutrition perspective, you want a lot of simple carbs. So you would want, and if you remember the old school creatine monohydrate 20 years ago.
I think they would say to take it with grape juice or something, right?
Anything with sugar
Exactly.
to shuttle it straight to the muscles, man.
So you get the quick sugar spike and then go work out.
Okay.
It's a catch-22 because if I'm working, again, with a pro hockey player where explosive power is super important, I would definitely recommend that they take their creatine with a lot of sugar. But sugar is a carbohydrate. So as a common consumer new to creatine, they're always freaked out about bloating. If I take creatine, will it bloat me? And then if you pump yourself full of 50 grams of carbohydrate, it's in the word hydrate, you will hold on to water. So it's effective at getting it to the cell. But I think with the gummies of having less than 10 grams of sugar, it's a good happy medium to provide a result without overloading a user with calories and things like that.
Yeah, I think new users are always confused with the creatine for getting bloated. What it's really doing, I like to say currency, as in water current. It's making your cells more current.
Yeah.
So that you're able to put the electrons between there. That's what the creatine is doing, kind of helping carry it.
Totally. It's huge. You definitely, for any athlete, taking things like creatine, taking things like fish oil, if you're looking to reduce inflammation, it's just a gold standard, as well as having great proteins and things like that to make you the best athlete.
We just all did a bunch of blood work. So we're all comparing each other's blood work. And then, I don't know, what was your omega index or omega?
My omega, I don't remember.
Omega-3.
No, my omega 3s were really good.
Oh, okay, we've been eating sardines like crazy.
Yeah.
There we go.
But then we had a couple of people with suboptimal omega levels. And then literature is starting to show omega-3 is really, really beneficial from just overall inflammation reduction, right?
Big time.
Well, I think the average person is confused, and not from ignorance, maybe from so much messaging that cholesterol is bad. You need cholesterol.
It's the mixed messaging.
Hey,
So much
have
stuff
carbs,
coming out.
simple carbs, complicated. What do you mean? How did they get there's so many things that someone has to keep track of.
Yeah, and macronutrients, they all have their role. So we know that carbohydrate are, a very quick energy source. Protein is very metabolic whenever it comes to improving lean muscle, and then fat is also an energy source that helps with hormone metabolism. So having a combination and a good ratio of all the macronutrients as well as water, the secret macronutrient is important. And it's basically finding ways that you feel fueled and you feel recovered. So if you, cut your diet to only have 20 grams of carbs per day and you're absolutely lethargic, it's your body telling you, I probably can have a little bit of oatmeal or a little bit of fruit to, self-regulate. So.
Now you said that it was the pre-workout creatine, and to a starting 18-year-old, you would tell him, hey, this is what you're going to start with: creatine, pre-workout. What would be a third product they should start with?
So, yeah, for a young athlete, I think creatine is probably the most important, just because of the potential to put on lean mass if you're a football player, if you're a rugby player, early on, and to help you recover much faster. So that's huge. A pre-workout for an 18-year-old is great, although I don't know if it's completely necessary.
True.
Because at 18, you have all the energy in the world. I think,
and all the free testosterone as well. Right?
That's right.
So they have everything they need. They're not.
You're living your best life.
Some like type of amino or.
Yeah, I think so. Going back to top three, so maybe a good stim-free pre-workout where they can really feel, some pump-based, ingredients.
There's nothing better than just looking in the mirror and seeing your veins just raging.
That's right.
Raging.
Yeah.
I got a layer of blubber, so I've never had that experience before.
But yeah, 18-year-olds, it's about boosting confidence. So if you go in the gym and you start to feel good pumps, that's definitely going to propel you to want to train more and be with your friends and things like that. And then to keep it simple, just having a good, clean protein, finding ways to consume more calories. Again, at this time when you have a bit of a growth spurt, to take advantage of it with those type of things is always beneficial.
Do you guys have like a target customer in mind, like that? When you guys are creating products, designing labels, is there like a 21-year-old male? Is it a 40-year-old male?
Yeah, so Gold's Gym, I think the key with the brand itself is all about inclusion. So the perception from a distance a lot of times is that this is only a place for bodybuilders.
Like the gym.
Yeah. The gym.
Like the gym.
But really, Gold's Gym is a legacy brand where, you go in there and it's a place for serious training and performance. But your main priority to work out is to become a healthier version of yourself. So with our, product development, it's looking at performance-based ingredients, but then also put natural ingredients like fruit and veggie extracts in the pre-workout, which has the dual role to essentially increase nitric oxide, but also provide antioxidant protection in the winter months, in cold and flu season, to make sure you're training consistently. Natural caffeine, AstraGin for gut health. It's one of those things. You don't really think about, gut health immediately whenever you're taking a pre-workout. Mm-hmm. But as an added benefit, if you're taking products that are incredibly high in caffeine, that could have a detriment on your gut. So, the more natural ingredients you could layer into these products to make it more inclusive to people, I think that's our goal with building the products.
I think you're the first person we ever heard say or clearly articulate, this is why this ingredient is here. Because we always hear, we're hearing about pump, we're hearing about stem, but we never hear about the other things. Like, okay, you're going to need some sugars to carry it. Mm-hmm. You're going to need some antioxidants, but not too much, because you don't want to dampen the inflammation response so much that you're not getting gains, right? Like, there's a lot of logical thought behind this that we haven't really heard before.
Yeah, and it's also like, it's weird because it's Gold's Gym, this legacy coming into a category, let's say a pre-workout category that's established in a certain way, but from your point of view, go, is that the best way? Mm-hmm. Like I always say, there's a few different pre-workouts that they're creatine based. They're no longer amino acid based. And to me, that's interesting because I was like, because a pre-workout became an amino acid based product and just kind of grew from there. So you guys look at it and say, okay, if you're taking this name pre-workout because you're taking it before you work out, what is it exactly that the athlete needs?
Yeah, I think with most pre-workouts, obviously it's about energy and focus. So making sure you're fully energized before you're training. In the case of this product, that's where using natural caffeine is a huge benefit. So, we want to stimulate your nervous system, but in a way where you feel your energy during the workout and you don't have this massive come down or jitters throughout the workout and don't feel better by using a product. I think, product development is how do I make the end user feel like the best version of themselves? Beta alanine, it's such a misunderstood ingredient because it's all about the tingle.
Yeah. That's literally what I assume it for. Is there anything else we're missing?
So that's the key. I mean, the tingle, once you feel it and are used to it, it's a motivating factor. The second that you feel it, it's time to train. But beta alanine is buffering lactic threshold. So, whenever I'm doing 12, reps of squats on my leg day, and I start to feel that burn after rep number 8, beta alanine might push that burn where you don't feel it until rep number 10. So it's about, increasing endurance. The end user does not have to be a scientist. They don't have to understand every detail, but they should take the product and feel something beneficial in their training that makes them want to come back for more. So.
Yeah.
You could have a great formula, but if the end user isn't experiencing anything, they're going to just go pick up something else next time.
That's it. So. And, flavor is a key driver of that as well. I think, with our pre-workouts, the common, statement always is that we have some of the best flavors out there. Being at the Arnold the last few years, people love the taste. But what I'm always, most impressed about with this product is the feedback is almost always positive. We don't get consumer reviews where they say, I feel, jittery or cracked out by taking the product. It's literally, I felt great during my workout. I felt great after my workout. Our job here is done. This is what we need to do.
I mean, kudos to your designer. 'Cause, when I picked this up, it's very unique.
Yeah.
It does not, it feels like a high-end Gold's Gym.
It's very clean, and it doesn't scream in like one direction or the other to try and segment anybody.
Exactly.
Yeah, I really like how you said that it's approaching everyone. I did have a question: is being in the supplement space so long and in the gym space, do you see that like we have a younger demographic? Because it seems like the kids that are in high school now, even though we all probably were into lifting supplements in high school, it seems it's so much more attainable for them, and then now you hear some kid like just gets out of high school and they're on gear or on tests, when like, dude, you need tests now.
Yeah,
Sure.
wait till you're in your 40s.
That's
right.
They're going to ruin it for themselves.
Yes, indeed.
So what are your thoughts about young people accelerating at such an early age?
In terms of using supplements or?
Both, I guess, using
Everything.
the good and bad that comes in this world, especially being at the Mecca, like, hey, this is the pro bodybuilding stage, where you're going to have the best supplements, but also you're able to get some of the best PEDs too.
Totally. So I think the cool thing right now that we didn't have 20 years ago is an education base. So it feels like there's enough information out there that's easily attainable, where young 16, 18, 20-year-olds can, read some of the research to, really understand what they're taking and why it has a benefit or a detriment to them. I think with supplementation, typically at a young age, less is more. So like we talked about, you have really everything you need. If you can take a few things to put you over the top, that's great, but you don't need 1,000 supplements. With PEDs, that's a personal choice. So, if you go to the Mecca, you have bodybuilders who are clearly, juiced up, taking steroids.
Yeah.
You go to Mr. Olympia, the Arnolds, these guys are not natural athletes. But in that sport, the requirement is that you take PEDs to ultimately, be able to compete. And as long as it's not, harming you and the risks going into it, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And it's the abuse and then disinformation that sometimes can get people in a little bit of a pickle. But now I think there's just so many resources out there where people understand what they're taking a bit more.
What about like peptides right now? Right,
I was just
they're all
say
the
that.
rage. But I was like, my brother and I, we watch a bunch of health YouTube. They're saying a lot of the science so far is not coming from Western published journals. It's mostly actually some other countries. And we know, especially in the when it comes to scientific manuscripts, certain regions have more fraud or fraudulent data, or fraudulent manuscripts. To be honest, right? So, but it works, right? We've seen everyone on peptides, and we know it works.
I was about to say that because what you said was you framed it as, it's coming from the East. It's coming. Some of this are Russian studies, right?
Yeah.
But to me, the way I look at it, these guys are so behind the ball, as in trying to compete with the Western world, that they may have made stuff to accelerate themselves. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah. So I guess we won't know about the long-term long term
Well, it
effects of
depends.
peptides?
It depends because with some peptides, like you have something like tesamorelin, that's FDA approved. Obviously, the GLPs are FDA approved. Insulin is FDA approved. So there is some stuff. For me, one of the things like USC invented MOTS. You know, so for us, Southern California,
So many different names. Like,
yeah. So to me, it's like, all right, what is this? When we started looking into it, it was more like this is not going anywhere, and it's entering our world. So you can't ignore it. You have to look at it and you look at the data. Unfortunately for me, it's also sometimes I look at the data and be like, okay, there's ingredients that can do that, not at the scale and not at the speed, but they can do that. You know, when you have stuff that lowers inflammation, increases AMPK, stuff like that, increases testosterone, and there is human data on ingredients and botanicals, but the peptides, even though they are just amino acid chains, that seem to have a faster effect.
do you want to walk there or do you want to run there?
Well, on the same topic, do you see peptides as a logical expansion of the supplement space, 5-10 years from now?
I think it could be. So I think it's so interesting with peptides because everyone is peptide curious at this point.
Yeah.
So it's something that, we couldn't identify the individual peptides. It'd be hard for me to say I know one between, the other. But it seems like they're having a benefit. So obviously with those Ozempic and things like that, GLP-1s, people are losing weight, they're becoming healthier. They are a better version of themselves. That's positive. In 20 years, will it come out that these things were horrible and we should have never touched it? Maybe, but at this point, we don't have the data. If we look at, the supplement space as an extension, we were having the same conversation 25 years ago with creatine.
Yeah.
I had to get a waiver, playing high school football for my mom because everyone thought it was a steroid, as the coaches were putting it in the Gatorade container, and people were freaked out. They're like, what does this do? Now cut to 2024, and my mom is taking steroids. My mom's not taking steroids. She's taking creatine.
Wait, what position did you play in high school?
I played quarterback in high school.
Oh, really?
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought you would have been like a linebacker because you're pretty.
It's the creatine. It's worked after all these years. But
So you really had to sign a waiver just to take creatine back in the day?
It was huge. I think so. I grew up in Louisiana. This was the status quo because I remember our coaches talking about creatine, that this is huge for strength, this is huge for recovery, and parents
Ahead of the time.
Yeah, parents. You hear strength and recovery increases, you're like, this is a steroid. My kid cannot take this. So you had two options. You could either get your parent to sign it, or you could just take it behind their back. And it was one of those things. Everyone was so curious to the benefit. And then now we know after 25 years of research that it's the best thing that you can take.
Yeah, there's a couple of different angles that come to my mind. First off, it's in social media, I think it's really funny. You have some bodybuilders being against the GLPs. But to me, I just step back and be like, all right, this person is big and wants to go small with a needle, and you're against that. But you were small and went big with a needle, but that's pro. We got to play it fair. Like if you're gonna have, say, you could change your size with an injection. Let's play fair. Second of all, the creatine, it's changed so much, and maybe it's the information, and it seems where if something has more of a benefit, like with creatine, it's not just physical. It seems to have a cognitive benefit, right? So more and more people are open to it. With the peptides and stuff, it just seems like you said, people are curious. People want to know whether they could change their life or not, and are going to try it. Whether we're supplying it, someone else supplying it, they're ordering overseas, a doctor. It seems like someone's trying to get it, and they're going to get their hands on it.
Well,
that's it.
Well, think of what it was last year. What state was trying to ban creatine? Was it New York State? That was
for 18 and under, though, right?
Yeah,
right.
for 18 under, which is the most. We were just talking about on our last podcast. The most wild thing, the most beneficial, non-harmful thing, is almost at a ban for 18, or was at a ban. I don't know if they removed it yet, but yeah, still creatine still has the negative.
Jared doesn't like New York, that's why. But we were talking to another brand. It's so crazy. Their target demo is like 15 to 21.
Oh.
And I was like, what? It's a supplement brand we've all known. I'm like, there's 15-year-olds buying supplements. Like, think of every football team in America. And I was like, you're right. They need to get
Yeah,
big as quick as possible.
You did say
right?
something 16, 18, and 20, and it made me think, oh, that's right, because that 16-year-old that's curious about supplements, about anything, may not be taking something now, but they're a customer in the making.
Well, they're trying to make the varsity team, and they're seeing all the other people, the juniors and seniors on their team. Yeah,
That's how they make the lifelong customer. You get them hooked as a kid, and they see the benefits of it. They're just going to be buying supplements for the rest of their life.
It does.
That sounds kind of negative.
No, it is just, it's like the tobacco
mean, like,
industry.
negative,
You
but,
got to
like,
get them in early.
Well, that's essentially what RTDs are. It's just starting out. Like I see kids out of the high school walking everywhere with ghosts in their hand.
Yeah, a few years ago with the Prime. Remember, everyone had to have the Prime.
That's it. You know?
And they
Do you see golds going into the RTD space?
Yeah, so interesting enough, we've developed a pre-workout in still format, RTD format. We have protein products that's been already developed, a handful of different beverage options. So I think, hopefully within the next year or two, we'll start to expand. But yeah, I mean, people want convenient options. So, I saw it this year at Expo West, this whole RTC, ready to consume, trend, whether it's beverages or the little gel packs or, anything that's just tear and go Grunes, obviously having a big month. The more convenient you can have something, the better it's going to be for the end consumer.
I feel like consumers more forgiving in that sense. Like, let's say they try to drink a gummy, whatever, they consumed it and there's like, it's gone and I liked it or not, and then they move on. With a bottle, they just keep judging over and over.
You can keep looking at it. The little tear and go.
Well, it's a big investment.
Yeah.
Especially in this economy right now. I believe it's $50.
$54.99 at retail, and then our Gold Gym members get discounted prices.
Yeah. So
at the gym or online?
At the gym. So it's a benefit within your Gold Gym membership.
Oh, wow.
For all of our products, you get essentially a 15% discount.
Yeah, I was going to ask if there was any pushback from the brands that are in your stores when you decided to bring back the line.
Not really. So what's so interesting with the pre-workout is we carry a lot of popular brands, Ghost, Rise, etc. And there was no cannibalization of any of their business whenever we launched our pre-workout, which was a concern for us. If people, like the brand that they use, they'll probably continue to do that. What we saw with the pre-workout is that a completely new end user started using pre-workout because they trust the Gold's Gym brand. And perfect example. So maybe like a year and a half ago, I sold a bike on Facebook Marketplace. So this guy comes over, interesting transition. But he comes over to my apartment and he's like, I lost 60 pounds on a Peloton. Now I want a bike to ride outdoors. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. You've lost weight. I work in sports nutrition, for Gold's Gym. And have you ever taken pre-workouts or anything like that? And he's like, I've always been, off-put by them. I don't understand them. They seem dangerous. But because your product is Gold's Gym, I trust this brand and I'll try it. Yeah, if you have samples, I'd love to take it. So I think the logo, elicits a certain trust and a certain responsibility for us to create good products. But in terms of other brands, that's the thing that we've seen. Creatine gummies pre-workout, it's basically a whole new stream of revenue for the gyms.
So you're growing the overall pie versus taking a slice from someone else.
Big time.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then you brought up a really good point. You have to remember what this stands for first, right? When you're formulating, creating, launching new products, right?
Big time, yeah. It's the most trusted brand in fitness. Just celebrated our 60th anniversary last year. And it means something. So, thinking again about a young athlete or the parent of a young athlete, if you go into Target or a vitamin store and you see a lot of aggressive branded pre-workouts, these are good products. But if you see something that is just so in your face with a, chaotic clown, so
ultra high stiff crazy.
With AstraGin.
Quadruple heart attack.
9,000 grams of caffeine.
That's right. That parent, if they see, a crazy skeleton or the Gold Gym logo, they're going to make a decision based on, long-term trust. So that's what we have.
The irony is, or I guess not irony, the parents know. They recognize Gold's Gym, even if their children may not, right? Which is crazy. So
that's it.
Even grandma.
And they're driving the purchasing decision for the household, right? So.
What happened to the Venice Beach flavor? We're still keeping that one?
Oh, we still got it. It's down here. Yeah.
Okay.
Venice punch in the house today.
That's when grandma's like, where I met your grandpa? At Gold's Gym.
Pop them all up. Let's see it.
Yeah.
Where do you see the future for Gold's Gyms regarding supplementations? Is it more just further line extensions, more functional foods? Like, are you guys making pizza in the future?
It's possible. So
Cereal?
RTEs, ready to eat, baby.
yeah,
Protein crust.
Yes. Oh,
Protein crust, I
honestly,
gotta get to work on that one.
creatine cheese.
I think it's more in the line of the usual suspects at this point in terms of product development. So looking at hydration, looking at protein, and finding ways to be innovative in the space is super important. RTDs, again, as we mentioned, healthy snacks. We have some protein bars, some healthy cookies, in our roadmap. So I think we're going to start to fill out the gaps over the next, 6, 12 months with some of the basics. And then as time goes on, start to expand from there.
From what I see from what our clients, when I started in the industry to now, the one category that's kind of diminished was recovery. And post workouts. I don't know if it just became too much for like a consumer, as in I got to get my my aminos, my intra, and then a post workout, or it's just got cannibalized by protein. But it seems like that's the only category that the brands don't. It maybe not worth it. I don't know.
Yeah, it's so interesting because we were talking Enno Explode before the podcast started, and back in the day, you would have the brands that always had their pre and post. So especially as a young user, you thought that to be the best version of yourself, you had to take these products together. And recovery, sure, protein is the most important driver of recovery post-workout. But again, looking at ingredients like beta-alanine, the clinical dose is 6.4 grams. In most pre's, it's at 3.2. So that's a great opportunity to put it in your post to actually, help your body to buffer lactic threshold for the next workout.
That's what you said. When this product gets maxed out, then it can move to the next one.
Yeah.
Totally.
You brought up a really good point, Ken. We've seen post diminish, even recovery interest, more like hydration now, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So you're seeing some pivots, but that's a really interesting category. But yeah, if you had L-glutamine, extra beta-alanine for that post part, I guess it's a hard convince. It's a hard convince for the customer who's already buying so many products.
That's what I always see when we do a lot of international work. And then one thing I'm always impressed by international products is that they give more bang for the buck. As Americans, we always
have to.
Yeah, we always think we have the best, and we do have the best, but we have a wide range. This is pre, post, intra for colon, for your hair, for biotin, everything. You got to take all this stuff. Like $300 a month, minimum. Totally. And then in other countries, I've noticed. I went to Colombia one time, and they had a wall of different proteins, and each protein had a different health function. One was protein for weight loss, protein for heart health, stacked with omegas and stuff like that. And I was like, oh wow, you guys took food, because for them protein is food. I'd rather spend on chicken than this powder. So if I'm going to spend on this powder, it has to have a different benefit. And I was like, wow, you guys are offering bone health, omegas, weight loss through protein. So I think it's just the different markets that trying to sell so many products.
But it's also by sheer necessity, right? Because they have way less disposable income. So they have to squeeze all the benefits.
I noticed on one of the creatines, I think like Elite Labs, like they had 5 grams of protein in their creatine too.
Yeah.
Like some calorie counts. Like that's interesting. But that's a really good point. It's fascinating.
Are there any questions we haven't asked that we should ask?
Wow. Yeah, I think we've dove into so much. I think just talking about the product and bringing it back to AstraGin. So one of the keys with this product, and again, we could talk about all the great ingredients: citrulline, beta-alanine, taurine for electrolyte balance, et cetera, et cetera. And the one thing that we're so proud of with the product is that AstraGin is kind of the thing that ties everything together to make it an accelerated version of any other type of pre-workout. So looking at overall health of the end user with gut health being a focus, and then making sure that all these ingredients are absorbed, it's so critical. And from a sports nutrition perspective, going back to the science of it all, in working with pro athletes, if I go, talk to NBA team, NFL team, and to their performance staff, the performance staff understands clearly what makes a great product. They know the clinical data. So you can't BS them. And that's always the staple for our development process, is to make sure the ingredients would stand up to that scrutiny. And then the end customer, even though they don't care about the details, they're there to feel the benefit, and hopefully we deliver something that's all encompassing.
Nice. Yeah, here's a pre with 1 gram citrulline.
That'd be a tough sell.
I've seen those products out there. I'm like, one
Just to get on the
one gram. I'm like, what are you gonna do with this?
Time to stack.
You said something earlier that like it was like mind blowing when you said that we're just another kind of like entry door for we're not jumping in as competition. We're just another door that we've opened up that someone wouldn't look at it. And I was like, it made me immediately think of all the people that started with the GLP-1s and everyone trashed the GLP-1, but that was just a huge entry door. Now all those people are looking at other supplements within the industry that we would have never had all those people. Like peptides would have never been around if GLP-1s didn't open that door.
Totally. We had a conversation about our weight loss ingredient innoslim. Like, what do we do with this? Because if you have something like Ozempic, and then if you really know the details, it costs nothing to make, you know, but the margins on what it costs to sell, it's like, well, man, innoslim is never going to compete with this with these kind of margins. But then it was for about like almost 2 years, less than 2 years, that it was kind of just silent on the innoslim front, and then it started kind of changing where, hey, do you have anything that aids GLP-1s? Like, oh, all right, we're back in business with this ingredient, because it was like, okay, because you could only be on this for so long, or you also need something that helps aid. So then we started kind of pivoting our research to then start being more aligned to something like Eli Lilly would be studying, you know. But that was always interesting.
Do you see at your gyms a lot of people on GLP-1s or kind of interventions?
Yeah, so I don't interact much with the members on that capacity to understand what they're using, but certainly there's an awareness that people are definitely using these type of drugs, and I think you know, with innoslim, a great example. So you still, with any of these peptides, have to inject yourself, and there's a huge population that will not do that.
Ken hates needles, by the way.
You hate needles? Yeah, but it's one of those things. For those consumers who see their friends taking Ozempic or peptides, and they want to get some type of benefit from their training or nutrition, having alternatives, that are natural in the supplement space, innoslim, other ingredients, are things that these consumers are now going to start to search out for. So whether it's a support for GLP-1 or really your version of what you think a GLP-1 should do. Supplements are not going anywhere. I think we're going to be better for this moment.
Totally.
Yeah, I think it's everyone always says that, like, okay, the market's capped. Like there's nothing more. Yeah, nothing more you can do, anything. But I'm like, you saying that, just you have that trust in the Gold's Gym brand where it opens another door. I'm like, all the new people that are thinking about bringing in a supplement, like, there's always a door. There's always a door that just people that weren't looking at supplements that you can use and then bring that in. Big
time, yeah. And look, pre-workouts, you take a pre-workout, you're going to have a better workout, period. Caffeine, all these ingredients, it benefits you. And if there's any hesitation, I don't recommend a pre-workout for anyone. But if you want to get your best workout, you got to take a pre-workout. It's really the way to go. So if we've introduced the right demographic to take these type of products safely for the first time, mission accomplished.
Do you ever see a more mainstream version of this, like a Gold's line for, like you said, if your mom's taking supplements now, you don't want her to be giving her 310 milligrams of caffeine, no. Right? So, like, is that a natural extension of Gold's Gym because the brand itself is so trusted?
Mm-hmm. So it's very interesting. So with our first version of the pre-workout, it had 20 scoops and the full serving of 310 milligrams of caffeine. What we did with this version was cut the scoop size in half. There's 40 servings, or if you want to take the double scoop to get that full serving, then you can pick your journey based on your fitness level.
Choose your own adventure.
Yeah. Choose your own adventure, because we don't want to, detract from someone taking a HIIT class who wants to have a better workout, not to take a pre-workout at all. But do they need, the full pump factor and this high, stimulant value? Probably not. So I think, my standard will always be the clinical dose. So what we're going to have on the front of our label is the dose size that provides the best result for whatever function the product delivers. And then there's these little, pathways where the consumer can then, choose their own journey. But the science will dictate how we make, ideally, the best product.
The gold, silver, bronze.
That's it. We're going to be on the top of the podium. Yeah.
Always gold.
Oh, What was 60? Sorry, I'm trying. I need glasses too, for crying out loud.
Doesn't help this thing's like blind. does it?
He answered that one in a separate time.
Oh yeah, that's a cool one. Want to hit it, Ken? Yeah. Okay. Like, what was the genesis or impetus for restarting the entire Gold's Gym supplement line in the first place?
Yeah, so Gold's had gotten purchased by our parent company during the pandemic, and one of the initiatives was that nutrition and fitness, or things that tie together. So, if given the opportunity to develop the best products, considering the brand name, do we think this would be successful? And the first question on my first day, that I came in, the owner of the company asked me, "How could this fail?" And
Wow,
How could it
that's
fail?
such a good question.
That's the first question they asked.
First question.
Wow.
So he had just purchased Gold's Gym, and I hopped on a Zoom call with him. He was based in Germany. And he was like, "You want to start this brand? Tell me right now how it's going to fail." And without hesitation, I was like, the key with any brand, especially a brand with a legacy, is to make something that's generic, to make something that only takes advantage of the logo, but doesn't feel like it was built for the Gold's Gym consumer. So if we understand who our consumer is, and we understand sports science, and we apply all those things to make sure we've created something that they feel proud of taking, then there's no chance it's going to fail. And I think that's the cool thing, seeing people come in for their second or third tub, consistently using the product as opposed to the competition. There's a certain pride for the product that you see in our gyms, which definitely makes me think we're moving in the right direction.
Did the founder accept that answer?
He didn't have a follow-up, so yeah, sometimes I
He's sitting
get
here
lucky.
with us today, so I think so.
That's so true though, because so many brands like, hey, this owner sold it, and the next company is just gonna rip away the formula and just kind of, hey, here's the logo, buy the logo.
That's it, And it had been tried, I think, maybe 10 or 15 years before with Gold's, where it was a little bit more of a brand play as opposed to something that was built for the member, and it didn't work. So, I got a incredible opportunity to have literally uprooted my life to move to California to be a trainer at the Mecca. And then 15 years later, come and create products for a customer I thought I already knew. It was we'll keep it between us, but it was not that difficult. I just knew and instinctively had it on day one.
That's like a life coming full circle for you, right? It's pretty cool.
Now, do you guys still offer the custom gyms to athletes?
So we don't. So yeah, we had chatted. I think this was probably 2 years ago. You came to the Mecca, and for a brief period of time, we had what was called Gold's Gym Home. And it was a literal branded Gold's Gym in your house. So it was like Victoria Beckham had one. We had bodybuilders that had them. But yeah, we now say just come to the Gold's Gym, feel the community, feel a part of it.
And speaking of community, I just had a thought. Imagine like people will see that you guys now have this like on their shelves. By buying this product, maybe now they feel like they're more included in the community. Like, I bet other people here are taking this, so I should too. And they kind of have that connection through a pre-workout. Like
100%. The first commercial we ever made for Gold's Nutrition, the commercial started with someone training in their home gym.
Okay.
And he poured the pre-workout, tried it, and he was doing a deadlift, and instantly at the top of his deadlift transformed into the Mecca to finish his workout. And the whole thought was, doesn't matter where you're training, if you're in your home gym, if you're taking a HIIT class, if you're training at Planet Fitness, the Gold's Gym ethos means something and you feel it. So this is definitely extension. If you take the product, you should feel it as well.
Do you guys sell this outside of Gold's Gyms? Is it in other retailers?
Yes. So exciting news. We're launching the product coming up on Amazon next week, as well as TikTok Shop. It's carried in a handful of other gym locations. I won't name them to upset anyone, but other gyms do carry this as well. So we're really focusing after the first 2 years of seeing the product in our gyms and being the most successful thing we've ever had, start to expand in other retail locations.
That's amazing.
Because you brought up a good point. A customer that may not have a gym membership at Gold's Gym now may have one down the line after consuming the product.
Yeah, I've had that same thought when you said
bring them into
that
your ecosystem.
when someone reviews it, they say it's good, I liked it, and moves on. And the only reason they might not stick with it is because they don't go to that gym. Like they go, oh, but I'm a 24-hour fitness guy. I'm a LA fitness guy. You get what I mean?
I don't
And
think
then-
anyone in California said that.
but you get what I mean? You're like, because if your goal is you use this proudly if you go to Go's Gym. If
That's
you're
it.
part of another gym, you might be like, that's cool, but my gym doesn't, my Planet Fitness doesn't have a pre-workout.
No. Well, when it comes to gyms, like Gold's Gym drives, there's a lot of affinity there, right? Lifetime has that affinity, right? Certain other gyms like Alpha Land, Texas has that affinity.
Yeah.
Nobody has that affinity for 24-hour fitness, man.
So if
Nobody.
Planet Fitness came to you and said, we need you to build a pre-workout for our demographic, you would have to learn that demographic.
I could do it, but it would be a lot less fun. Gold,
He's like, pizza flavor.
And we need you to sell it at $19.95. You're like, all right, I'm really boxed in here, guys.
But not have
Half a gram of
citrulline.
citrulline.
But no, that's cool.
So
Thank you so much, Kenny. This is awesome. We're excited about the new
I know, I
label.
want to try the Apple one.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Is that they're all 310s, right? 310 milligrams.
Yeah, so the green apple, that was the cool thing this year at the Arnold. We had Arnold that came over to our booth, and that was
super cool. That was super cool.
that's the flavor he tried, and you just watch his reaction. Super tart, super juicy, really great product. And
There's never some courtship to try to make him be the brand, because it seems like everyone always wants him to. And I don't think he's done anything since Muscle Farm.
No, he's with Momentous.
Oh, yeah, the red one.
Momentous.
That
Yeah.
one's
right,
David
yeah.
Beckham's, I think.
do you remember? So we have 310 milligrams of caffeine.
Yep.
You remember why?
Yeah, it's 310, the area code.
That's it. You know it.
Oh, wow. Three. What about
The
213?
That's downtown LA. That's the downtown Goes Gym.
I would like the 213 version better.
That's it.
The elite one, 909. The ultra pump.
909.
That would be a Monster energy drink flavored.
Yeah.
We're speaking as Angelinos. That is a 909 era crowd, right? With the little
I don't know
dirt
if you
bikes.
lived here long enough to know that term, a 909er.
What's 909? What's going
It's
on
someone that lives in the Inland Empire, so you could refer to them as a.
It's someone in LA or in the West Side, for lack of better words, shitting on someone in IE.
Yeah, like, oh, you're far from the beach. You're a
Yeah.
909er.
And they proudly own that. Like, give me all the monsters in the world.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah.
909 milligrams is nothing to them, right?
That's my morning coffee.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Stay off the roads of the 909.
That's the truth, right?
No,
It's totally
good.
called 909er.
Love
Yeah.
it.
That's
I gotta wear my brand, man.
That's it. Represent, man.
Dude, thank you so much for coming.
Yeah,
in,
for sure. It's been a pleasure. Yeah, thank you guys. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you, man. Yeah, appreciate you. Yep. Thank you.